Either way, welcome back. Let's continue on.
Emil,
Yes.
do you hear me? Yes. I'm having some problem with the enemy.generate file.
Uh-oh.
Is that just a quirk of Unreal? Because I thought I could just nuke my intermediate files and then just generate them, generate Visual Studio project files again, and that would fix it. So I did that during our break, but that didn't do anything. So is it me just seeing something wrong because I can't read with my dyslexia? Or
Usually,
something
if you
else?
get problems in your generated.cpp, that means, or your header, that means like something's been written weirdly. So that means it's being confused.
Okay.
Let's see.
Ryder is telling me that if I don't put the generator.h at the bottom of the include list, it won't work.
Yeah, that's another
I
thing.
have it at the bottom.
Yeah, I see the problem here. Can anyone else spot what the problem is? One character missing somewhere.
Did you say one character?
There's one character missing.
Oh.
I don't see any fucks in that document.
Yeah, it's like I'm missing some fucks. There's no character here. There's no texture to this naming convention. There's a semicolon missing.
Yep.
Oh, the for declaration.
Yes. It's supposed to be a semicolon after class use for a component. There we go.
How crappy is Visual
This
Studio?
doesn't do anything.
Doesn't know.
No, but I mean, don't worry about the intelligence. Like the reason it failed is because since there was no semicolon, it was like being very confused with the U class. So that probably means it didn't actually create a generated.h because it got confused about what was happening in your file.
Wilhelm, your volume was super low there. It's like
Yeah, I heard some mumbling.
No.
Could you repeat your question?
I don't think I had a question. I just talked about Visual Studio being crappy.
Oh, yeah. Never trust intelligence.
Ryder's really good.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Yeah.
In the well, say here you have the reference to the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
If you would want to access that enemy's what's it called, actor functions, is there anything special you have to do for that?
Nope. You just call them.
You use column like normal.
Yep. It's just a normal function.
Sweet.
Cool. It's also intelligence telling me I misspelled something here. I don't see any misspellings though, so I don't think it's working pretty quickly. Yeah, okay, so now that we've done this twice, I'm gonna redo it once again. So let's do it the right way. Now we've done it twice. We've done overlap components, we've done overlap actors, and now we're actually gonna do the ugly way where we overlap actors and then get each primitive component to add a radial impulse. Because
just quick question. Overlapped components, are those all the primitive components in the scene, or which are they?
It will consider all primitive components in this world.
So every component inside the level.
Yes, essentially.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so we are actually gonna move this stuff into the overlap actor stuff here. I'm sorry. I got nothing else to say. I'm really sorry. So let's just do it. I should have realized this would have been the better way first. I remember during my first class in at Future Games, it was like 2 different paths we could have taken for a certain thing. It was like, okay, either we can do it in way A and then we could do it in way B. And stupidly I polled the class. I was like, do you want to do A or do you want to do B? And I took like a showing of hands. And then like 2 hours in of doing B, I was like, no, this sucks, we're doing A. It's like, just ignore 2 hours and we're going back. So that was a humbling moment for me. So sometimes that happens.
That's the 50-50, 90 rule.
Yeah,
If there's a 50-50 chance of getting it right, 90% of the time you're going to get it wrong.
Yeah, so
So true though.
Sort of the same thing here, where I wish we would have done it this way from the beginning, but it's fine. It's fine. All right. So instead of overlapping components, we're actually just going to overlap actors, and then we're going to get all primitive components on each actor to apply an impulse. It's going to be ugly, but I think it's going to be easiest for what we're going to do next. So I'm sort of trying to save us time in the future here. That's my justification.
Just so I understand, when you do overlapping actors, it's going to go through all of the colliders on the actor and collide them with everything, or like how does it kind of unify them first, or what do we get out of that?
Essentially, it will just do a primitive component overlap. That's essentially what it will do, and then it will just add all of the owners into a list uniquely.
Okay.
So you will only get like each owner once. But so that's essentially what it's doing. Cool. So I'm gonna change this this filter here. So instead of filtering with a fuck enemy, we're actually just gonna filter with a actor. Then I'll do overlapped actors. Like so. Change the for loop to be for each actor in overlapped actors. Remove this for now. Gonna remove this as well. Just gonna save this. Okay. Remove the comment because it doesn't make any sense anymore. That's why I don't comment, man. Because the comments, like I comment and then the code changes and I don't change the comment and all of a sudden I have lying comments. Okay, so I'm changing this up so make sure that we have an array called overlap actors. I'm changing the function, the sphere overlap actors, to just have an A actor as a filter, and that it's the out list here is overlap actors. So now we should be getting all the actors in this sphere. Great. So now what we're gonna do is get and apply impulses to all primitive components on actor. We could, if we wanted to be like super unreal, we could be getting just the root components. So we could be casting all the root components of all actors to primitive components and then apply impulse. We could do that. That could work, but I'm actually gonna get all of the components just to show you guys how you would do that as well. So there's a function on the actor called find component. Okay, so there's find component by class, so that's pretty good. So find component by class, we give either a template or a t-subclass of, and that will find the first component on this actor by that class. So this is very similar to how it works in Unity, I believe. Where you get like how do you do it in Unity? I don't know. It's like get component or something, right?
Yeah, get components.
Yeah, and then the crocodile mouth. So this is the same thing essentially. But it should also be like get all components of class, isn't there? Get all component. Find components. Is there not?
There is a get components by class, if that's what you're looking for.
Ah, okay, there it is. Actor K2. Okay, that's scary. Okay, so we'll use this then. K2 stands for Kismet 2, by the way. So that's the this is the prefix that they use sometimes for blueprint functions back when it was called Kismet. So okay, so let's call that, even though it's K2 underscore, which usually means it's pretty scary. But let's let's use this anyways. I'm kind of regretting this, but let's just go. So I will do k2 underscore get all or get components by class. There we go. So this one doesn't have a template version because it is a Kismet version, Kismet function. So we have to supply a subclass of here. So we will just supply the U primitive component as a subclass. So we'll do U primitive component : static class. So we're telling this function to get all components that have the class U primitive components. And then this is going to return an array of actor components. So remember, we had scene component, which was something that had a transform. It had like, you know, a position, a rotation, and scale. And actor component was the layer under that, where it's just something that can attach to a actor, but it doesn't have any position or anything. It's just sort of, it's just a component on the actor, sort of like Unity components. So we're just getting an array of that. Oh, great. There we go. So we'll do components. All right, so now we have an array of actor components. And since we are getting all components by class and we're supplying this U primitive component, we can be sure that all of the components in this array are primitive components. So I'm going to loop them. Okay, and then we'll just add radial impulse like that. Right? It's saying it doesn't have this member. What's wrong here?
Component is an actor component.
Yeah. And what do we need to be able to add a radial impulse?
Primitive components.
Yes. So how would we remedy this? How would we fix this problem?
By casting the U actor component to a primitive just above it.
And why can we be sure that that cast will always work?
Because the filter is primitive components.
Yes. So I'm just gonna cast the U primitive component. There we go. So we're casting the component to a U primitive component. I'm saving that. And then now we should be able to do add radial impulse like that. There we go.
Sorry, maybe I missed it. Maybe you said it earlier, but what was the difference between a primitive and an actor component?
So an actor component is the base class, the very base down class for a component. So that's something that just sort of, it just has an owner essentially. It can be added to an actor, but it doesn't have any position or anything. Then we have scene component is the next layer, and that's something that has position, rotation, and scale, but nothing else really.
So it's like a transform.
It's like a transform, exactly. Yeah. And then we have the next layer, which is primitive component that has collision, sometimes rendering, and physics.
All right, cool, thanks.
No worries. Good that you ask. So now we're applying radial impulses to all the primitive components. You can kind of see why I didn't want to do this because it's super annoying. But now it's done. So let's see if it actually works. Let's see if it even compiles even. If it compiles, I want claps, okay? I want big claps. It compiled! Yes, 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 yes! Thank you. Subscribe, please subscribe. Okay, anyways, so now if I shoot, okay, it still works. So it still works the way it worked before. Thank God. Ah! Okay, he died. That's not good. He shouldn't have died. Because that code is not in here yet.
Before compiling?
Sorry?
Did we save before compiling?
Maybe that was a false positive. Because you shouldn't have died.
Didn't it say destroy in the code?
Yeah, that's for destroying the bullet though, not the...
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Sorry.
Why is he dying?
Did you remove the code?
It's
Oh,
working on my
no.
end, so maybe just restart Unreal.
Yeah, I'm not doing destroy here anywhere. I'm then destroying the projectile, but not anything else. Let's restart the engine, shall we?
Maybe the enemy just flies away really, really fast.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Were you
Maybe
dissing
the
Unreal?
enemy just flies away really, really fast.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe suddenly it reacts to impulse. It's like, bye bye, going to Korea.
I mean, it's possible though, right? We applied a force, but like, how
it's
are we?
possible.
No, we're applying it as an accelerator. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean he shouldn't. I mean he's not simulating physics either, so he shouldn't be even impacted by forces. Let's see. Okay, so I didn't place him in level. Let's get him back in. Oops, that's the base class. No, don't want to place that. No, that's the projectile. Don't want to place that either. There we go.
Does the enemy inherit? The enemy inherits from actor, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. And you shouldn't die now. Don't die. Okay, thank God. That was weird. Well, anyways, let's just move on. So the physics still works. He's done real things, and he doesn't die when I hit him because that code is not in there anymore. Cool. So just to get back to where we were half an hour ago. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm pretty fast. So, just to get back to it before we start messing around too much, I am gonna cast the actor to an enemy and then destroy it if that is an enemy. So just to get back to where we were. So I will do a fuck enemy. Enemy is casts a fuck enemy actor, and if enemy, then destroy enemy. That's not what I wanted. There we go.
And when we call destroy, like, nothing happens until the end of the frame anyway, right? So like, we're not taking data away from underneath ourselves.
No, it's not. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't get like the memory doesn't become garbage or anything. It's still there. It's just sort of it's marked for destroy.
Good.
Till the garbage collector comes in and picks him up. Like slowly, menacingly coming towards us, and then yeah, there we go. He died. Cool. So we're back to where we were. So let's speed run 10. Oh, excuse me. Oh. In that speed run in 10 minutes, I'm sorry guys, I'm gross. In 10 minutes, we're gonna speed run, refactoring this. So instead of having an enemy base class that we call a function on, or sorry, not that we don't even have a function. Okay, let's do that first. Okay, so let's finish at least this design paradigm before we move on from it. We don't even have a base function or anything. So if we did do this, where we have a sort of a base class that we inherit from, then probably what we want to do, if we want to have some sort of different behaviors, if we want to have like one donut enemy and one cube enemy or something, we probably want to have some sort of overridable function, some sort of event that is called when we hit the enemy. So I'm gonna say that the base class will have a blueprint event, so that in blueprints we can override it to then, insert whatever behavior we want to have when that particular enemy is hit. What would I do to make an event like that we can override in blueprints? In the fuck enemy. Do you remember?
A blueprint implementable event, a U function.
Yes.
I guess it needs to be is it virtual or abstract in C++?
You don't even need to make it as virtual, actually. Just type it out. But very good. That's exactly what we do. So we will call it like on take damage. Sure, that makes sense. Do I need to implement this in code?
No, you implement it through Blueprint,
Yes.
so it doesn't need to be in the CPP.
Yes.
Can you make like a first function which you want to run in code, and then when that is done, you carry over into the blueprint?
You could do, yes, you could do something like an on-take damage function in code that then would call a blueprint implemented event from there. So that's how you would do that in that case. So you would make like a function in code that runs and does things, and then it would call some sort of blueprint implementable event later. So that's how you would implement that in that case.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Mm.
Cool.
Could you set like a default function in C++ that can be overridden by a blueprint and replace it if it's implemented?
Very good question. Let's actually do that, because I think that's a very good thing to show you guys how to do that. Very good question. So we will do that, and that's called a blueprint native event.
Okay.
All right. So instead of blueprint implementable event, we call it a blueprint native event. And the difference between a blueprint native and a blueprint implementable is that a blueprint native can be defined in code. So we can define a code version of this function that can then be overridden in Blueprint. So it's sort of like a virtual that works with Blueprint. Sort of like a pure virtual.
Why don't they just call it like blueprint overrideable or something? Like, why? What is native event in this context?
Not sure. I'm guessing this native implies C++, so I guess that's why. That's Sweeney.
All right.
So I will mark it as virtual because that's just good practice. Sorry, I interrupted you. You were gonna say something.
No, I was just gonna bitch. Don't mind me.
No, I was
It's like those names just sound flipped, right? It's upside down. The native one is called the implementable, and then not native. Like blueprint native means native to blueprints, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, usually when you call something native in at least in Unreal, native implies code. That's usually their naming convention, but
that's good to know.
It's fine. So, okay, so here we gotta be a little bit careful. Okay, we gotta be a little bit careful here, because if I just implement this, let's see what happens. Oh, fuck. Okay, it actually did it for me. Okay, so the thing you do here, ugly, is that you actually define it as on-take damage _ implementation. So you don't just define the function as the name. You have to define it as _ implementation.
Is that because the? No,
yes,
go ahead.
All right. I'm assuming the _ implementation is defined in the like generator.h.
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
So we don't need to declare it. We only need to define it. The reason for this, actually, can someone guess the reason for this? Can someone guess why we need to do this?
Because we don't know if it's been overridden by blueprints, but the engine does. So the engine will kind of take the on-take damage function and will decide whether or not to call us.
Very
Is it
smart.
something like that?
Very smart. Yes, that is exactly what's happening.
Okay.
C++ doesn't know if this is overridden in Blueprint. You know, there's no virtual table that works for Blueprint in C++. So, you know, when we override this in Blueprint and call it on-take damage, it will just call the C++ version because it doesn't know anything better. So Unreal needs a chance to sort of step in between and actually do some checks to be like, okay, wait, hold on a second, before we call this, like, should we call a Blueprint version? Should we call a C++ version? Like, let's relax for a little bit. So that's why it's generating code in the generated.cpp to check, should this be rerouted to Blueprint first, or should we actually call the C++ version? So we just need time to actually do that decision, and that's what the on-take damage function does. And if it actually decides to call the C++ version, then it will call this _ implementation function. So that's why it unfortunately needs to be a little bit ugly, because Unreal needs some time to actually step in and do some logic there. Whoops. So with that in mind, so let's say we have some sort of base behavior. So let's say the base behavior is. Okay, can you guys come up with some nice base behavior that's not like destroy?
Remove health?
Die.
Could you knock back?
Let's do.
It's already going to be knocked back, isn't it? Because we're knocking back the components.
All right.
But
Well,
we
we're
are
not, because
adding,
we're-
It doesn't have physics.
Make it fall
Yeah,
to the
exactly.
ground.
make it fall to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
Make it grow in size.
Make it grow. Fuck it, dude. That's the perfect one. Okay, so I'm actually gonna do add actor scale, I think. Just gonna symbol search real quick. No, it's not adding to scale. World scale? What? How the fuck do I add scale?
Can you not just search for scale and see everything that comes up with scale?
There is a scale actor 3D. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's that.
Let's go to actor. I don't know. Maybe there isn't just one that's adding. I know you can set
there-
it, but
there is
maybe you
a-
can't add.
No, there's
Yeah,
a
what does
function that
what does
is
add
set
mean?
actor
This
scale.
Yeah, there's no add. There's only a set. Okay, so that sucks ass. Okay, so we just have to set the actor scale and boo.
There's a
Boo.
get as well, though, so we can just get it and then add
Yeah,
it.
but
and then
I don't want to do that. I'm lazy. Okay, so we just have to do get set actor scale 3D, and then get actor scale 3D. Boo, boo. +1.
This is the game industry standard, huh?
Boo. Okay, so that works. So we will do that. So that will be our base implementation. So now we can actually check if we're, overriding it properly. So one thing left, and that is to call it. So I will call it here. On take damage. And of course, we're not supposed to call the implementation. Don't do this. Why don't we do this?
the whole point of that being there was so that we could override it.
Yes.
And if we do that, we're calling the base implementation and ignoring any overrides.
Exactly. So let's see. I'm heavily doubtful that this will work, but let's compile. It's like adding blueprint native events feels like a pretty dangerous thing to do with whole compile. Blueprint native event must be non-virtual. Oh, okay. Well, that's my. Well, I made a mistake. So it's not supposed to be virtual. Don't know why. Oh, I think the implementation is virtual. I remember. I have to admit, no memory. Okay, either way, let's compile.
So the implementation is going to be declared in the generate body macro for us, right? That's why we don't need to.
Yes.
That's why we don't need to define that. Okay.
Exactly. So let's see here. So now if I hit this guy, he should be growing in size. Yes, there we go. Big donut. Big donut. I can jump through him. Okay, never mind. I can't. Cool. So that's good. So now let's go and override this in the enemy. So in here, I will right click and I will do on take damage. So here's our event. And if I only override it and don't do anything else, and let's say we simulate physics. So I will just set simulate physics, not on a static mesh, on a sphere. So yeah, I will just set simulate physics. We're just gonna do this and then we'll take lunch. Real quick.
Can we spawn soft body jelly? Like physics, that would be awesome.
I don't know actually. There probably is some way to do it. Okay, so here's something interesting here that we haven't talked about. Here's fuck enemy sphere is not blueprint visible. I haven't actually talked about this at all. Because we haven't done much blueprint at all. But to actually be able to access sphere, because if I type sphere here, I won't be able to find the component in here. To make something like that visible in blueprint to be able to editable, we have to mark it as blueprint, you know, blueprint read only or blueprint read write. We haven't had a reason to do this yet, but now we have, because now we want to actually be able to reach this component. It's kind of weird because I can still drag it out. So it's kind of like, okay, why can't I even drag it out if it's not blueprint, if it's not blueprint read only? And yeah, it's giving me a warning that, okay, you shouldn't be able to do this. I made you do it because, I don't know, for some reason it just isn't, giving me an error or something, but yeah, so let's real quick go in here, make the sphere a blueprint read only. There we go. So now we shouldn't be getting this error. Okay, let's see. There we go. So now we're setting physics, and hopefully that's all it should do. So let's see if I hit this guy. Attempted to access missing property sphere. Okay, I think hot compile has fucked me over here. Let's take lunch, and we'll do this after lunch. It's been far enough. So see you guys in 1 hour. Bye bye.